Good morning. How we doing, guys? We have quite the week ahead of us here today thus far. S&P's down 0.11%. NASDAQ down about 0.23%. Oil having another tough day. We saw a few of those last week. Oil's down over 3%. Gold sitting down 0.86%. SPCX having a very tough day, sitting down minus 9.5%. We were down over 10% on SPCX here at one point. Biggest movers so far of the day, ticker-wise, BITO back on the list. SPCX, again, one of the most active names today in the stock world as far as volume. I just saw, just so you know, Alibaba getting a pop, ticker BABA. That one's on the list here today. NOK seeing a lot of volume here today, up 4.9%. So let's pop back here. These are NASDAQ futures, ticker NQ. We're a minute 45 out from the close up. Big bar 27. There's a 5-minute chart. ATR currently sitting at 65, 66 region. Again, that's average true range. It's going to be the average range in points of a 5-minute bar, which is the time frame you're looking at. All right. Big bar 27. Let's see what we get context-wise currently. What are we looking at? Can anybody tell me? You've got a big sideways range here right now. You got the 20 EMA up top, kind of coming into the high end of that range. So I'm going to keep an eye on that 20 EMA. But really, contextually speaking, as far as RAM is concerned, the wrench action method, I'm watching that trading range, and I'm not betting on big, huge breakouts unless I get a reasonable continuation setup, ideally a couple of closes outside of that guy. So good. Let's take a peek. How we doing? Good morning, guys. How are we? How are we? Ascend? Real Row? How are we? Jackson, good to see you guys. Good morning. Man, SpaceX continuing to fall here, down 9.9% now. We'll see if we end up rolling over and curling down through the low of day. Wouldn't surprise me, I'll tell you that much. NVIDIA, by the way, sitting basically flat on the day. Relatively volatile, big range here. 5.5 points on NVIDIA as far as width of range. But basically sitting flat. AMD, we saw some action last week, up 1.2%. We're getting a lot of fades here midday. As you guys know, we have PCE coming up here on Thursday. Now, a lot of people will ask me about PCE. I've gotten a lot of questions over the years. PCE, think of PCE as CPI for the Fed. The number the Fed actually cares about. It's the inflation read that the Fed actually gives a damn about. CPI is the one for consumers. The Fed looks at CPI. It's the big headline read. I get it. It's what you see all the news about. CPI is a very important number, but PCE is the one the Federal Reserve goes off of. And the story at the end of last week, of course, was the Fed going nuts, flipping a little bit hawkish, a lot more than we've been seeing, a lot more than the market was comfortable with, at least initially off the release. And, you know, the market, as much as you may feel like we need a little bit of a hawkish flip out of the Fed, which means tightening down the hatches on monetary policy, the market doesn't like that. The market likes free money. You know, as unsustainable as it may be, that's what the market wants. So hawkish flip, PCE coming up on Thursday. I think we know what the story of the week here is. All eyes on that Thursday PCE read. And by the way, any Fed comments in the meantime. Until then, of course, as always, I'm doing nothing but trading price action. Mr. T, how we doing? John, Tina, Nathan, good to see you guys. Come on in. We have got work to do. Big bar 28, 3 minutes, 20 seconds out. See what 28 can bring. By the way, if we're able to get up through the 20 EMA, close up nice and clean, that would be the first close outside of this sideways trading range that you would draw here and here. That would be a very, very early trade, but potentially worthwhile depending on how far out it can close. Having trouble already here on bar 28, trying to get upside out of that range. So, you know, Tesla here, sitting up 2.36%. Tesla's basically in a big sideways single bar range. For me, as far as, you know, we're active traders around here, right? So Tesla right now is not going to be, just an example here, this is not a name that I would call in play by any means until we can get this breaking out. Nvidia is actually looking reasonable, but I need a little bit more context on Nvidia. SpaceX, obviously one of the most active equities in the market. The last week of trading, of course, always making the list every day as far as volume is concerned. Movement too, a lot of days. Sitting down 9.7%, trying to roll over. I'm very curious to see if the bears want to take out that low of day. I gotta tell you guys, looking at this, we might just see a trading range here beneath that volume weighted average price here on SpaceX, and the low of day. In this general vicinity here, wouldn't surprise me at all if we end up seeing a little sideways trading range. Now, it wouldn't be little, it might be 4 points wide, but need a little bit more context there on SpaceX for me to, you know, pick a direction and go. I will be trading SpaceX today. Gonna need a little bit more though. All right, NQ. Again, NASDAQ futures here, bar 28, 55 seconds out. Those of you unaware, I am trading Apex and TakeProfitTrader here on NQ today. By the way, Apex, baby, 90% off still, single day pass, code BIG, B-I-G. So let's see if I can put something on. We've got a big trading range on NQ here as well. Again, I typically don't like to draw things too much. If I'm just trading alone, I almost never draw anything. But for the sake of showing you guys, we've got a big sideways trading range here. Bears trying to take out the low of day. 23 seconds out here till the close up. Big bar 28. See if they can. They will. They'll take out the low of day just barely. Couple of ticks. And let's see what the bears got here. That's a pretty big bar. ATR sitting 72.6. Range on this bar so far in the 130s. That is a tremendous bar. Biggest bar that we've seen since bar 3 here on the day. Meaning the third 5-minute bar after the open. Edge, Kip, how we doing? Elevated, what's up, brother? Good to see you guys. Yeah, you see this? Bulls popping us right back into the range. Not surprising at all. SpaceX over here. That trading range showing itself even more. We saw Alibaba was getting a pop, having some trouble. Keep an eye on that. Still sitting down 1.07% here on BABA. Ticker BABA. By the way, ticker NXTS, biggest winner here so far today, sitting up 239%, currently halted. Unless this thing can, oh, there you go. We'll see if we end up getting some movement here out of NXTS. A lot of times when these names, they make a move like that and then end up getting halted, sometimes they can, you know, resume trading. And you'll see it either pop or dump, instantly get halted again. Those are out of play. Do not touch those. In my experience, you don't want to get stuck in those things because every once in a while, man, a stock will get halted and never resume trading. So you want to keep an eye on that. EHGO here, another name currently actively trading, sitting around $5 a share, up 186%. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll keep an eye on those names here. I think we've got plenty of stocks around the market that I would consider in play. Just waiting to get a more reasonable setup here. We'll hang out on SpaceX and head back to NQ for the futures. Again, seeing if these bears can crack us lower downside outside of the single bar. Not necessarily single bar, but sideways trading range. Here and here. Again, 80% of these breakout attempts are going to fail. You got to watch it. Gotta watch it. A lot of accounts getting blown betting on breakouts that never come. So you see here on SPCX trying to make a curl. I'm going to grab a little starter position to the long side on SPCX. 167.85 is going to be my average there. Because I do think we're going to form a sideways trading range in general. Ideally not a single bar sideways range. That would suck. And come up for another test of volume weighted average price. I'll stop myself out of that if we crack the wick low of that previous 5-minute bar. Chat says, secured my second payout on Lucid. Use that to grab 20 Apex evals using code BIG, my man. Tremendous work. Tremendous work. Yes, sir. Getting along on SPCX. Certainly brave. That's why I'm keeping my stop tight. Keeping my stop tight. I'm not one to go ahead here and, risk 159 on price. Put your stop way the hell down here. If we take out especially the low a day, man. But for me, my stop's sitting right below the wick low of this last 5-minute bar on that little starter to the long side on SPCX. No big deal over there. In the money, about 10 cents. All right, big bar 30. See what the Bears got. See if they can take out that wick low and keep going lower there on NQ. So what I've noticed here is that the NASDAQ and SPCX, what I should say is SPCX and the market in general have not been extraordinarily correlated here all week, which makes sense with an IPO of that size. To have it just glued to the NASDAQ, for example, the first week of trading with the amount of volume it's been doing. I mean, it's been ridiculous. It's been right on the list as far as shares traded all week at, $170, $200, $212. Right next to $5 stocks that are seeing a whole bunch of shares traded. Obviously, the cheaper the instrument, the more volume count you could expect to see within reason. So SPCX not necessarily being such a cheap stock as far as price. Man, it's tremendous that it's been on that list all week. NQ trying to bounce here. Big bar 30, 352 out. So you look at SPCX here, pulling back here just a tad into the mid to low 167s. So, on a trade like this, when I'm looking at this, my risk is tight. Upside, I'm watching kind of the high end of, it happens to be volume weighted average price, but I'm kind of watching the high end of this sideways range as well. So while I typically in a trend would, not be looking to add to losers and looking to add heavily to winners, we're in a range, which means I trade a little bit differently here, particularly on stock like SpaceX that's so in play. So keeping an eye there on that. I'll take another piece on SpaceX, start beefing this guy up a little bit. Stop is going to stay at 166.41, by the way. There we go. NQ still having some trouble here, driving up out of the hole, low end of this sideways range. All right, we've got a minute 10 out here till the close. SpaceX trying to crack down through 167. Again, I got my stop sitting at 166.41 there on the little SpaceX long. And volume weighted average price again sitting up at 169.49, but I'm far more looking at that little SpaceX range here. Let me show you, as a sideways price action range rather than volume weighted average price itself, right? The indicators to me, they're nothing more, nothing less than a self-fulfilling prophecy, but clearly on a stock that's as heavy volume, as in play as SpaceX has been the last week of trading. I gotta have it pulled up. NQ still having issues here, 20 seconds out from the close up big bar 30. Highly likely to be an inside close here. Looks similar to bar 29 as far as size. Yeah, there we go. Bar 30 on NQ closing as a tiny little bull body, effectively a doji, back to back with bar 29. All right, let's watch bar 31. I want to see if these bears can crack lower. We got SpaceX trying to crack down through. I'll cut that position there. Looks like we're heading for low of day. All right, I got to keep an eye on SpaceX here because I want to know if we're going to stay in that sideways range or if we're going to take out low of day. If we're taking out low of day and continuing, a couple of more bear closes beneath there, we're heading right back to the bear trend. The context on SpaceX, by the way, as far as bear trend, has been out the window here since basically this bounce. Okay, but if we're able to take out the wick low, a couple of especially like bear closes like this guy, all of a sudden it's like, okay, bear trend is back here on SpaceX, which would be absurd because we're already down 10.1%. But I'll tell you something, don't ever look at how much something's down and say, well, I mean, it's already down 10%. It can't go any lower. I can assure you it can go lower. All right, NQ trying to crack down through low a day, which was then the wick low of bar 28. See if it can sustain that. That's the big question. But look, by the way, look at this. AMD, relatively clean bare body there. So I'm gonna grab a starter to the short side here on AMD. And head back and watch this NQ close. We got 2 minutes out. Now, by the way, AMD, the spread on this is about 50 cents wide, so you gotta be watching that. AMD trying to, by the way, crack down into red territory on the day. All right, we got a minute 22 out from the close up big bar 30. So you look at this, you got 28, 29, I'm sorry, 31, 28, 29, 30, 31, which means even if we get a nice clean bear close after 29 and 30, then I want to watch 32. We got a mover here. Sky Quarry, ticker SKYQ, hitting new highs on the day, up 89%. All right, 15 seconds out here from the close up bar 31 on the NQ 5-minute chart. Keep an eye on that. All right, so, you know, the close here on 31, there was a bit of wick, but it wasn't bad. 32 here, bar 32 on NQ. I don't want to see us grow too much higher upside. All that does is increase my risk on any short that I'd be taking if we got a reasonable setup. I'd prefer to see this bar roll over into bear territory, take out the wick low of 31, then close us up nice and clean as a clean bear body. ATR currently, there you go. ATR currently sitting at 64 here on the 5-minute NQ chart. By the way, AMD trying to move lower here, pushing that position in the money. Sitting short AMD. Back to NQ here, heading into 30,500 on NQ. 10 points out, 12 points out. Man, SPCX lower and lower and lower, down 10.44% here on the day. Heading down, trying to take out that low of day. Low of day here on SPCX, currently 165.12. Heading lower, we'll see if we can take that out. Okay, now, on NQ, I'm still looking at this sideways range. Curious if the bulls want to take us up back inside of there. 20 EMA coming down through, heading toward the middle of that sideways range. Width-wise, this range, we're looking at about 100 points, 105 points maybe. So I'm curious to see if those bulls get rejected. It doesn't look like I'm going to get a short setup on NQ on bar 32. I need this thing to roll over. It did, short-lived though. Bulls stepping back in, 52 seconds out till the close up of big 32. By the way, my stop on that AMD short way up at 545.02, so I got plenty of room there. Certainly not a scalp on that AMD play. Okay, 20 seconds out here till the rollover, big bar 32. All right, we got bar 33. Open it up here on NQ, 5 minutes. So NQ trying to get back into that sideways range. By the way, SkyQ, remember SkyQ was popping? Slowing down here a tad, sitting in the low $2 a share range. Up 86%. I'm starting to see a little bit more size on the bid and the offer. It's a penny wide bid-ask spread, which is great. But on a stock like this that's moving big time, you like to see things a little more thinly traded. I think there's more opportunity there. Well, I know there's more opportunity there in most cases. All right, 250 out. NQ trying to break back into that sideways range. We'll see if it maintains. Now, I'm looking at two things here on NQ, right? Got a big sideways range. However, the other potential, if we end up rejecting early, fading back downside, we might see this guy turn into more of a soft bear channel. Now, it would be pretty wide, actually. It looks tight, but you gotta remember, ATR is 61.62. So bar 33 is actually reasonably important here on NQ. So let's check it on AMD here. You see AMD trying to pop a bit. This is not a situation that I would add to this, okay? Because right now I've got, you know, it's a starter, okay? And I'm using what a lot of people would say, that's a really wide stop. Well, you size yourself appropriately. So I'm sitting short. My stop on this AMD position is up at, where are we at? 545 plus, right above that wick high, okay? So I'm keeping an eye on that. When it's a bet on a bear trend, I don't like averaging in, at least in a situation like this. The stock's trying to go red on the day. Currently, after this bounce, we're sitting up 0.65%. So I'm going to let that sit. That's not something I'm going to add into. If it wants to take out that wick high right above 545, I'm okay with that. I don't want to be sized any bigger. Chat, Chris B. Hey, Nico. Just dropped in to say that I finally took your advice about scaling horizontally. I cannot begin to express how much easier everything feels just looking for 100 to 200 per account per day instead. Look, almost everybody, they come in, they're like, I'm going to trade one prop account. They're like, I'm scamming these prop firms. They're like, I'm going to trade one prop account. I'm going to trade 10 minis. I'm going to make my living that way. My expenses will be $24, and I'm going to make my living trading one prop account with 10 minis. You guys, it is, let me tell you something. It is so much easier to not be a bitch, terrified of having a little bit of expenses here and there. You come in, you tell me you want to make $1 million a year, big dog. Nico, I want to make $1 million a year. I want to make $1 million a month. Some of you guys are telling me, I'm like, okay, like look, fuck, go big, right? Even bigger, let's go. And then you're like, yeah, but I only want to invest $27 into my prop trading. I'm like, big dog. Come on, dude. Do you not see the disconnect? There's a problem here. There's a disconnect here. You're thinking huge, tremendous, go even bigger, right? There's never an answer that's too big, but then you're telling me that you're like, well, I'm not willing to bet on myself because I kind of think I suck. Do you see the disconnect? That's a problem, dude. But you got to scale horizontally. It's so much easier to make money in prop trading, especially consistency-wise, with any sort of consistency, when you scale it horizontally, because you're not trading too big for the account. So trade a few micros, 2 to 5 micros per, let's say, 50K funded account, and then just trade as many accounts as humanly possible across prop firms, etc. Mike says, Nico, same with me. I'm now scaling horizontally, doing much better. My man, big surprise, right? Who knew? Now, this gets really interesting. Again, this is the NQ 5-minute. I'm looking at this guy. And if we can reject here and head down and take out the wick low of 31, all of a sudden I'm thinking, wait a second. Wait a second now. Is that sideways range out of play? And we've got a big soft bear channel on our hands. Potentially. It's a hair too early to say. By the way, low of day over here on SPCX, still 165.12. About 40 cents out from testing that here on SPCX. I imagine the bears here try to take out the low of day. Stock currently down 10.5%. By the way, that stock that was moving, SKYQ, currently up 91% now in that general area, popping through the highs, taking new highs up through 230, having a little bit of trouble. Looking a little bit more evenly weighted here on SkyQ now. Back to NQ. We got 2 minutes 50 seconds out here from the close up of Big Bar 35 on NQ. All right, checking back in with AMD. Tell you what I'm going to do. You're on AMD. I'm going to move my stop to 542.70. Which is the high of this current bar. If we take out that bar, I no longer want to give it to the high of that bar because then we've got too much strength going on, and at that point I'm willing to roll and look for new positions. So again, stop now on AMD, updated to 542.70. I never really got too big on that position because when I'm betting on a trend, I'm not looking to add when the trend starts bouncing. Okay, in more of a trading range, I will add to a losing position. I'm looking to add to winners in trends. And, AMD, though, having a little bit of trouble going right on the day. Currently sitting up 0.75% after a bit of a bounce here. So tighten down the hatches on that position and see what we get. NQ having a little bit of trouble with that 20 EMA. 57 seconds out till the close of bar 35. By the way, look at SPCX here. Trying to take out that low. Low day at 165.12, coming in for a test. Here it is. We'll see if 165.12 can slip there on the bid. Look at this thing. SPCX getting stuck right ahead of low a day. Now watch, see if this thing, slips that bid. By the way, AMD got cut, so watching AMD for a new position there. Also paying attention to SPCX here. There you go. It'll slip the bid on low a day. So I'm sitting flat now. Let's head back to NQ actually. Bar 36. Bar 36 has potential. Small bear body, but closing beneath that wick low of 34. Ideally beneath the open, the low of 33. All of a sudden then I've got, 33 coming into 34, 35, 36. With the context being soft bear channel. I like that. All right, 3 minutes, 5 seconds here from the close up big bar 36. All right, NQ, you have my attention. You want to give me a nice clean bear close? Because I would be into that for a short, but it's got to get a bit lower here. Bar 36, I need to see it grow a tad. We got a minute 55-ish out. Well, Bull's trying to step back in here on NQ. SpaceX over here, by the way, having a tremendous amount of trouble getting down through 165. That previous low of day back here was 165.12. We've cracked it, and now you... Goodness. Goodness. Do you guys see what I'm seeing? Look at the bid on SpaceX. Holy shit. Look at the size on 165. You miss it? See if we head back down to 165 on the best bid. Now, you gotta understand, when there's a lot of size on a bid like that, sometimes those orders go out and then they get pulled, don't they? Okay, so, you can't trust that we're not going to crack down through 165 just because you see a lot of size on the bid at 165, because that order might get pulled and then we fall through 165. Okay, but it certainly acts as support in the meantime, because you got to eat up through all that size to get down through 165, because those are buyers. Unless it gets pulled, of course, which does oftentimes happen. Man, look at this. Look at this. All that size on the bid at 165. It keeps going out and then getting pulled. Someone's trying to stop the bleeding here on SpaceX. Got big size routed through NASDAQ and EdgeX. Right at 165. By the way, that is hundreds of thousands of shares. On the bid at 165. Being put out, pulled, put out, pulled. Actually giving SpaceX a little bit of a bounce here off 165. We'll revisit SpaceX when it's time. NQ here, 2 minutes, 15 seconds out. I'm actually going to grab a bit of a position here on SpaceX. To the long side with my stop right below 165. I want to see whoever's putting out hundreds of thousands of shares at 165. They're clearly trying to play a game. Okay, bar 37 here on NQ, minute 15 out. Again, SpaceX here, I'm sitting long, average 165.60. There is, if you're just joining us, we're seeing orders, hundreds of thousands of shares, routed through NASDAQ and EdgeX being placed at 165 on the dot. They're being placed and then pulled, placed and then pulled. It's not a guarantee they don't just get pulled and you fall through 165. But for me, you know, that's worth getting long in front of 165.60 with a stop at 164.99. Maybe I shouldn't be putting that out there, huh? But whatever, it's okay. So we'll see what happens over there. Give it time. Let it do its thing. Back to NQ, 22 seconds out. Again, these are NASDAQ futures. All right, good. Bar 38 here on NQ. Trying to move lower, away from that little single bar sideways range we saw from bar 34 to 36, 37. Adding to SPCX, by the way. Okay, minute 50 out here from the close up of bar 38 on NQ. All right, so bar 38 here on NQ, closing up as a big doji. Watching 39, see if we can get lower. Now, we're likely to come in. Low of day on NQ is the wick low of bar 31. That's only about, well, 30 points away or so. It's volatile here. ATR sitting 51. 51's a pretty high ATR for this time of day. Pablo, big dog, how we doing? All right, 2 minutes out from the close of bar 39. Man, we got a big sideways range effectively here on NQ. I'm going to need NQ to take out the wick low of 31, which is low of day, and head lower. That would maintain the context, at least a soft bear channel. Right now, it's looking quite rangy here. All right, guys, be back. Quick break. Don't you go anywhere. All right, what's up? Welcome back. We've got big bar 40 rolling over into 41 here on NQ. SpaceX long sitting, I don't know, a few points in the money here, letting it do its thing. And watching what NQ can get done. By the way, getting a bit of a move here on BYND. That's Beyond Meat. Ticker BYND. Bit of a move here. New high a day. NQ trying to test that 20 EMA. We've got SpaceX here trying to get up through 166. Bit of hesitation around that 166 region. Get down 10.36% on the day here. Now, for those of you guys just joining us, SpaceX down at 165. We were getting massive size on the bid. It would come and it would get pulled. It would get placed. It would get pulled. They were routing through NASDAQ and EdgeX. Which, if you don't know what that means, it's alright. It doesn't matter too much. But hundreds of thousands of shares being placed at 165. Someone clearly trying to stop the bleeding here on SpaceX. We'll see if they can. Meanwhile, NQ trying to get up through that 20 EMA. A little bit of hesitation here. Well, about 50 cents in the money here on the SpaceX trade. Keep letting it do its thing. Looking for more of a reversion than that. Still down 10.2% on the day, SpaceX is. NASDAQ here trying to crack through that 20 EMA. Now, what I'm looking at here on NQ, you know, we've got a big sideways range. Testing that 20 EMA, you know, a couple of closes above the wick high of 35. And all of a sudden, I'm looking to get long. But until then, we've got a big range here. Yeah, so, you know, I see some people saying higher low. Does that mean reversal? Well, look. The context previously, there was an argument for a big soft bear channel, right? I'm having a really hard time right now seeing anything. This is the NQ 5-minute chart, NASDAQ futures, other than a big sideways range. You got that 20 EMA. For me right now, I need more information. Calling this, I understand why someone might. A higher low, I get it. But that, to me, the argument is just way too damn close to a big sideways range for me to see it as anything other than that. ATR is still 47.48, so we'll probably be getting more information here on NQ shortly. Getting some wiggles here on NQ. We'll see if we had a little bit of a headline. By the way, Trump headline says that everyone knows that Iran will opt for having major weapons inspections. Likely to cause that little wiggle there. Not going to be too much market moving behavior out of that. Well, NQ here having a little bit of trouble around that 20 EMA region. Honestly, is it the 20 EMA? No, I think it's the big sideways trade range that we're looking at currently. All right, we've got a minute 45-ish until the close up big bar 43. If NQ could give us a couple of closes, you know, maybe a close here and then a second close up here, above the wick high of 35, well then we're obviously watching the wick high of 38, because you had another big sideways trading range back here, from bar 17 to bar 28. But if we could get a couple of closes, I mean, really what we need here as far as the bulls is to get a couple of closes, get us above, you know, 681, really 30,700, gets us clear of both these sideways ranges, and then, you know, then we're looking at maybe 300 points of reversal potential. But until then, it's in my head, it's too bad, because it's stuck as a sideways range. NQ rejecting kind of hard. 41, 42, 43. Ugliest single bar 15-minute trading range I've ever seen, right ahead of the 20 EMA. Again, we got a big sideways range here. That's what I'm staring at. And it's getting tighter. With an ATR of 44, width here of this range within reason is maybe 60 points. That's a pretty tight range. Take a bit of an ad here on my SpaceX position. All right, we got low a day here on NQ, 30,503. All right, we got SpaceX here coming in for a test. Remember, 165 is that area to watch. We'll see if that size pops up again here. So we were seeing, again, routed through NASDAQ and EdgeX here on SpaceX. We had, last time we came in for a test, hundreds of thousands of shares stacking from somebody trying to stop the bleeding here on SpaceX on 165. I'm not seeing too much size here at 165 this time around. We've got some movement here on NQ. Finally, bears taking us a hair lower. Let's see if the bears want to come down and test that low of day. All right, 5 seconds here till this 5-minute bar rolls over. 44 into 45. ATR way down to 43 on that rollover from 47. Okay, 3 minutes out here. We got bar 45 here on NQ. Still in a big range. You know, you got to be careful in a sideways range like this. A lot of futures traders, they start trying to hit this. The ATR is 45. This range is 50, 60 points wide. You know, you start taking 25 trades in here and then you wonder why you blew your accounts. Take it easy. Oh, we got SPCX coming in for a test here of 165. SPCX gives up, slips the bid on 165. I'm flat immediately. Let's see here. I think this 165 region has been the oddest level we've seen on SPCX since IPO. There's the rollover. We got a new 5-minute bar. But the amount of hesitation here, we've bounced off 165 hard 3-4 times now. Someone's clearly playing with that level. We're not seeing quite as much size on the bid at 165 as we were previously. Well, in the meantime here, back to NQ. NQ trying to make him move higher. Bar 46, let's see what it's got. So, ATR in what, less than 90 minutes, less than an hour and a half, ATR here on NQ has fallen from the mid to low 70s down to the mid to low 40s, all thanks to this big sideways trading range that started on bar, 32 effectively. Previous to that, we had one through here. Look at this, getting a bit of a bounce here out of SPCX. Off that 165 trampoline point that we keep seeing. What an odd little level that we're seeing there. Keep an eye on that. Okay, so we got a midday update here. S&P's down 0.3%. NASDAQ down 0.4%. Oil coming back a little bit, still down 2.83%. Gold down 0.67%. Oil has been taking a beating in the last week of trading. NASDAQ here trying to break higher. Is this the start of the at least soft bull channel? Let's hope so. Reversal, potentially, but still, I've got my eye on that big sideways trading range. These NQ futures are going to have to prove me otherwise before I'm getting long. Look at this. We've got another test of 165 here on SPCX. Look at the size. You see it? The size on the bid. We'll watch, see if it gets pulled. We'll see if that size gets pulled. If we slip that 165 bid, boom, I'm going to get flat immediately. We have hundreds of thousands of shares on the bid sitting at 165 a share right now. That size not really getting eaten up, but it could get pulled. I imagine a lot of that size is coming from a few participants. So if one of them, or whoever this is, decides to pull it, we're going to slip that bid through 165. Let's keep an eye on that level too. SPCX currently just pinned to 165. Tons of size here on the bid. That size getting eaten up a tad. You see that number going down? It's getting eaten up a little bit. Okay, we'll see if that bid slips. And if we do, I'm flat immediately. So that right there, we're talking maybe 65 million bucks just sitting on the bid at 165. Which, you know, it's not a tremendous amount of money, all things considered. But for an active trader, that's worth taking note of. You see that? You getting that little bounce? That right there, that's why my stop's at 164.99. Again, maybe I shouldn't be telling everybody that, but that's where it is. So keeping an eye on 165 here on SPCX. Head back to the futures here. Again, just keep in mind, if that bid slips 165 on SPCX, I'm flat instantly. Has yet to do so. Question, have you had any problems with the washout rule, making your taxes higher? So I'm not an accountant, okay? I never issue financial advice of any sort. And certainly no tax advice. I am not that, never have been an accountant. Likely never will be an accountant. But what I will tell you is you should talk to your CPA, but you should also understand that depending on what everything looks like for you when it's time to file, how you identify will make a difference. Also, people get very terrified of the wash sale rule. You got to understand that it's not, when you first read into the wash sale rule, when you're day trading stocks, it makes it seem like, wait a second, this is going to cost me a shitload of money, even if I am profitable as a trader, day trading stocks, because of this rule. They know what they're doing, okay? Nobody would day trade stocks if the wash sale rule was what you think it is when you first read into it. When it's all said and done, it is done in a logical manner. Talk to your CPA. You will determine how you identify when it's time to file your taxes. But either way, it's not going to be the end of the world in most cases. I say in most cases, I've never seen it. Talk to your CPA. I am not that. All right, big bar 48 here. We got a minute 56 out from the close. Get a move here on a ticker GLW. That's Corning Incorporated, ticker GLW, high a day. Up 5.96%. ATR on NQ, man, falling down to 38. I don't want to complain too much about 38. Man, there have been times in the market where if we had an ATR of 38 on NQ, we were hoping for an ATR of 18 when it was at 7, you know? That's the average range of a 5-minute bar. This is a 5-minute NQ chart. NASDAQ futures, that is. But you gotta have reasonable ATR mixed with reasonable price action. Right now, we have a reasonable ATR, especially this time of day. Not too much reasonable price action going on in NQ, big sideways range. All right, fresh poll in the chat. I want to know. Everybody vote. Let's get as big a sample size as possible. Has NQ, your opinion, seen its low of day? Meaning, do we make a new low of day or no? Has it seen its low of day? If you think the low of day is in, it's going to stay the wick low of 31, you hit yes. If you think we're making a new low of day, you say no. Some of the most ridiculous action I have seen since IPO. Basically the most ridiculous action since SpaceX IPO'd. Massive size, 65 million bucks sitting on 165 on that bid. See if the Bulls can drive this baby up out of the hole and get away. Get away from 165 here on SpaceX. All right, bar 49 rolling over. Big bar 50. It's about time. We could use big bar 50. Big bar 50 has some lore around here. Some of the biggest moves we've ever seen has been on big bar 50. We'll see if we can get that done here today. That would be useful. ATR 3637, 441 out. Grizzy says they're standing over 165 with their teeth grit. Yeah, 165 has been a mother of a level here on SpaceX today. Look at this, another test. Yeah, we've been seeing about 65 million bucks hit the bid on 165 on the dot every time we test 165 on SpaceX. See, it's interesting because it's currently acting like a small cap stock would at a key level like 165. Yet if that bid slips 165, I am flat immediately. This is ridiculous. See, if you don't trade stocks too much, you're more of a futures guy. Fuck, we love futures, don't we? You gotta understand, like a titan, which SpaceX already is. These mega cap stocks, they don't traditionally act this way. This is small cap behavior to have such massive size at a level like 165, refusing to budge and getting bounce after bounce after bounce after bounce. That doesn't typically happen on stocks with this kind of market cap. It's just uncommon. So it's very interesting to see this battle of 165 on SPCX here today. Again, this really doesn't happen too much. If you trade a lot of small caps, you're like, dude, this happens all the time. Yeah, it happens all the time on small caps. Mega caps like this, not for this long. Not for this long, not at all. We've been at this for a half hour. Longer, actually. Hey man, if you haven't yet, I appreciate you hitting like on the stream, or dislike, big dog, or dislike, whatever you gotta do today. Hit a button, I appreciate you doing so. Well, we got 30 seconds left to fulfill the prophecy for big bar 50. ATR sitting 39, range on bar 50 here on NQ. Sitting in that region as well, mid-30s as far as range here in points. Well, S&P is currently down 0.31%, NASDAQ down 0.46%, oil still sitting minus 2.84%, gold down 0.88%. Again, we've got SPCX here trying to maintain 165, massive size, hundreds of thousands of shares have been placed and sitting on 165 on the dot in the market depth here on SPCX. Markets tried to take that out probably 6 or 7 times. That size is refusing to budge. It's about 65 million bucks. Again, all things considered, it's not a tremendous amount of money, but intraday, it can certainly lead to volatility behavior, I should say, like this, which you don't typically see a level like this not budging for this long on a mega cap stock like SPCX, of course, already is. Over here on NASDAQ bar 51, 3 minutes out from the close, you know, again, could we end up turning this guy into a soft bull channel? Yeah, but right now I think it makes more sense to look at it more like either a wedge or a straight sideways range, however you would like to draw it. But that's what we're looking like right now. NASDAQ kind of stuck in there, ATR 37. All right, guys. Hey, I appreciate you joining me here today. Hope you guys have a tremendous rest of the day. I will see you tomorrow, man. If you didn't, hit like on the way out. See you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.